Yo, what's up, guys? My name's Alex. I'm one of the co-founders of OddsJam, and what we are going to talk about in this video is just betting on sports. We're going to play some sports bets and hopefully make some money. So we're on the OddsJam positive expected value page right now. Again, what this shows you is big line discrepancies between Pinnacle Sportsbook and BookMaker Sportsbook in the books that you use, right? So even if you're not betting on Pinnacle Sportsbook, you still always want to know the lines that they have. And again, that is because Pinnacle Sportsbook and BookMaker are viewed as two of the sharpest sportsbooks in the world. They have low vig, they accept higher betting volumes, they're efficient markets, they're sharp. When a player gets injured, as an example, LeBron gets injured, lines are moving way before on Pinnacle and BookMaker and reacting to that new information entering the sports betting market, as opposed to other bookmakers like Unibet, which we see here. So when you see line discrepancies between Pinnacle and BookMaker, you can really find good value betting opportunities. So like if we go to DraftKings, we've talked about this in other videos, it's really hard to find good bets manually because these odds are always moving around. Good lines aren't staying around forever, and there's just so much data. Like you can see right here, this is just run lines for baseball, right? We have college football going on. We have NFL about to start. We have NFL preseason right now, and this is just baseball totals and run lines. It's a ton of data for just one sports book. You're not going to be able to sift through tens and tens of thousands of odds manually and find good bets, which is why having software to show you, hey, this bet is kind of interesting, you may want to check it out, is extremely, extremely valuable. So we'll place a few bets, we'll make some money hopefully, and just talk a little bit about sports betting. So here's an interesting one. We have USC San Jose State, okay? So Pinnacle, the sharpest sportsbook in the world, is giving you, what was that bet? It looks like it may have just moved, so we'll move on. Again, sports is a financial market. You want to hit that refresh button. You can set up your email alerts in your settings, but you're not going to be able to get in on every good bet you see. You have to move quickly. It's kind of like, right, day trading. Again, the best lines don't last forever. So knowing how to navigate these sites quickly really helps. But anyways, what you can do is just kind of hit this refresh button and look for good betting opportunities. So what we see here is Central Michigan plus 15 is minus 120 on Unibet, right? It's minus 153 odds on Pinnacle. So if we want to just click on this, we can see what BookMaker is. So BookMaker has Central Michigan plus 13 minus 120, which is a lot more favored than Pinnacle. And we're already getting an arb to Pinnacle with minus 117 Central Michigan plus 14.5. Like BookMaker had Central Michigan plus 13 minus 120, which is, and we can get plus 14.5 for minus 117 on Unibet. So this is incredible value right here. So our bet tracker on OddsJam is 100% free. We track all your bets. We grade them as wins and losses. So you can click on any bet and you can kind of track it. But this is clearly a good bet, right? Like the sharpest sportsbook in the world, Pinnacle, has it minus 146. And it's a direct arb. If two sportsbooks are direct arbs to each other, one book has to be wrong, right? Like you can't have the opportunity in any financial market to make risk-free money. My background is I worked on Wall Street, and this is like, the first thing you learn during intern training is you can't have the opportunity to make risk-free money in a financial market. So here, this arb plus 120 minus 117, one bookmaker has to be wrong, and Pinnacle's the sharpest book in the world. So we'd prefer to just play this bet on Unibet minus 117 because there's some value there. And again, we can see that BookMaker has Central Michigan as even bigger of a favorite. They have Central Michigan plus 13 minus 120 odds when Pinnacle only has minus 103. So what we can do is go to Unibet. We can find this game. This will be the first play. The game's on September 4th. Again, you want to move somewhat quickly and be able to move somewhat quickly if you expect to get in on the good betting opportunities. So we can see I already have some action on Central Michigan plus 14.5, like $500. But let's see if they take a little more action on it because the bet's good. and it says send entire wager of 200 for approval. So we'll see if they take it. They probably won't. But the plus 15 minus 120 is also good. So we'll be able to find that on the plus EV page. So they're only giving me 36.75 on it. I'm limited on Unibet. I'm limited on basically all these sports books. So what I did is I sent that for approval, and I'll see if they give me any more money. So it looks like they actually accepted my bet on Central Michigan plus 14.5. So that'll be my first bet. Unibet, Central Mich plus 14.5 minus 117. If you have questions about why that bet is good, you can of course feel free to reach out. So $200 we're getting on that. And then we can see that the expected value of this bet is 5.03%. So 0.0503, and our expected profit is this times our amount. So our total profit is this. Just adding up all our expected profits. Again, if you place a statistically large sample of bets, if you're placing 10, that may be a stretch. If you're placing 5 positive expected value bets, a day, 35 a week, that's a lot of bets, right? Like 35 bets, all mathematically profitable. You are, the variance, just due to the law of large numbers, right? There's not going to be as much variance as you think. If you're flipping a coin 35 times, right, it's not like you're going to lose if you're doing that with a friend every time. The more bets you place that are statistically profitable, your risk decreases because your portfolio of bets, or however you want to think about it, gets more diversified. It's just like why people invest in stock market indices and things like that, is you're diversifying. So I actually already bet this Royals minus 1.5, I'm pretty sure. So what we can see, I bet Royals minus 1 plus 225 odds. I was limited to 65.33. But what we can do is, again, it's 100% free for just so I can, have my closing line value in OddsJam. I can track this bet, $200, Central Michigan plus 14.5, minus 117 odds on Unibet. And then we can kind of look through the rest of the plays. It doesn't look like there's any money line discrepancies here. But again, it's an arb to Pinnacle, so Unibet or Pinnacle Sportsbook has to be wrong. Bookmaker had Central Michigan even bigger favorites than Pinnacle did. So the two sharpest sportsbooks in the world are saying Central Michigan should be a bigger favorite, right? This plus 14.5 has way more value than minus 117. So that's why we placed the bet. There's value there. One of these sportsbooks, Pinnacle or Bookmaker or Pinnacle or Unibet, has to be wrong. And you want to err with the sharp books, right? Like you always want to be getting better odds than the sharp sports books like Pinnacle, like Bookmaker, which is essentially, the reason that we placed this bet. Again, like Central Michigan plus 13 is minus 120 on Bookmaker. It's only minus 103 on Pinnacle. Like the value that we're getting we're getting plus 14.5 on Unibet for minus 117, and Bookmaker has Central Michigan plus 13 minus 120. So clearly some value there. So that's cool. We placed one profitable bet, and what we can do is just kind of go to the arbitrage page. I've talked about it in other videos. Arbitrage essentially exists because the sportsbooks, they want to be unique. They want to set their lines independently. So they all try to do that, right? Which is great for them. DraftKings doesn't want the same lines as Fanduel. They don't want the same lines as MGM. So all these bookmakers have different lines. And what you can end up doing is finding opportunities where you can, lock in kind of risk-free profit. So I'll just try to place one more as an example. We can see Kem Illakil versus Alex Molkan is an arb in the second set total games. Obviously the second set, it has to have over 8.5 games, so like 9, 10, 11, or under 8.5. So if we go here, we can try to find this tennis matchup briefly. So this guy's name was Alex Molkan. Okay. So you can just search his name if you're trying to be quick, control F it. So Alex Molkan, and I want to go to set markets. Again, know how to navigate these books. It makes you a lot faster. So we can see that over 8.5 games in the second set is minus 260 odds on Fanduel. So I have to log in, which again, I hate being slow, but it is what it is. And then we can go to it on DraftKings as well. So if I just go to tennis, US Open men, Mulcan, here we see him. So it looks like he's in here. And then we want to go to sets, total games listed set, go down to Mulcan. So then it has total games first set, total games second set. So we see under 8.5 is what we wanted to bet. That is plus 275. So this is an arbitrage opportunity between Fanduel and between DraftKings. So again, I'm limited on both bookmakers, but we'll see how much Fanduel gives me. Wow, nice. They let me bet 162.35 on it. So I'm already limited, so I don't really care about, overthinking my bet size too much. So they gave me 162.35, which means I want to bet roughly $60 on DraftKings, and I lock in a risk-free $250 in profit. Placing enough of these bets, it really does add up to a lot of money kind of in the long run. So this is just $250. It took like a minute to place, whatever. Again, I'm max limited by both of these sports books. So what you can do if you want to is you can add this to your bet tracker. So go here just so you can get an accurate representation of your profit and loss, 162.35, and then 60 here. We grade it automatically for you. You can put your bet into your sheet, and then we just know we're making a risk-free $250, okay? So what we can see already is we already have $250 in risk-free profit locked up, expected profit of 10.06. We have no risk in this bet. So our expected profit is 10.06. We can add a column risk-free profit, which will just be, all of these. And then total profit will be the sum of these. So right now we can see that our risk-free profit is 250. Our total profit is 10.06. So risk-free plus total profit is just going to be these two numbers added together, right? Pretty simple. Okay. So we can place a few more arbitrage bets. I mean, again, most of you will probably be able to bet more on these, but the whole point is I'm literally as limited as you can get on Fanduel, and they're absolutely lowest tier. They barely let me bet anything, and I'm still able to place 250. You could kind of go down this list and get like, 250 on each of them, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but even if you're limited, max hard limited on all these accounts, that's like, $20 just from what's there right now in taking 10, 15 minutes out of your day to do that. So it's really, it's not fun, but it is it's not the end of the world. So there's still money to be made. So here's another interesting one, right? We see Phillies Diamondbacks over 8 runs is minus 133 on BetMGM. And under 8 runs is plus 138 odds on MGM. So this is a risk-free arbitrage bet, right? Like if I place 133 on this, I can make a risk-free profit. So this is, you could bet bigger on it. Again, it depends on your bankroll. Make a risk-free $15 in a couple of minutes, couple clicks of a button. And the reason this happens is, again, line discrepancies between MGM and Unibet. What we can see is our total stake. This is what an arbitrage calculator does, is our total stake is 1736.08, and our total payout is always static at 1751.88. So our total profit will always be 1580. Again, right, like you can just go through the math. What is $1,000 bet at minus 133 odds? What is $36 dollars bet at plus 138 odds? But again, another thing to realize is Pinnacle has this minus 156. This minus 133 is a direct arb to Pinnacle, so there's clearly some value there. That line hasn't updated yet. Maybe the Phillies pitcher switch. Whatever it is, that line is off. So what we can do is try to find it real quick. So we can see this has 3.41% expected profit. So if I go to MGM, I can lock up my second play. Also limited on MGM. So Diamondbacks, Phillies, moving quick. We want to go to totals, over 8, and you'll see this is 133 odds. So my odds are in decimal, but you can see, betting 133.3, so this is like minus 133.3 odds in decimal because our potential payout is $100 higher, right? So what you can see is that's an arb to Pinnacle still, 3.41% EV. So let's see how much money they give me. So they give me 122.38, okay? So Phillies over 8, 122.38, and our mathematical EV here is 0.031. Again, placing 5 profitable bets a day, if you can do that, even just 5 from the OddsJam plus EV page, you're not going to lose 5 coin flips most nights. The probability of that happening is pretty low unless your odds are like plus 1,000 or whatever. So being able to place a variety of bets, you're actually not going to have as much risk as you think, just like mathematically, right? Like it's like flipping a coin 20 times for your net worth versus flipping a coin like 1 time, right? Like you feel much better 20 times because it's not going to be a binary outcome. You either lost everything or you made money. And that's same with sports betting, is if you're placing a lot of bets, they're all mathematically profitable. Most nights, some percentage of the nights, you're just going to end up money, right? So what we can do here is calculate our EV so we can see our expected profit. Ooh. So that's this times this. Cool. So we're currently sitting at no, this shouldn't be here. Sorry. That should be there. So we're currently sitting at 250 in risk-free profit still and 1423 now in expected profit. Getting a little confused. And 122.38 is the size they gave us, so we can track this for closing line value. And so, I can have an accurate representation of my profit and loss. So you can add the bet to your bet tracker. And I'll tell you why this is important is if we go to DraftKings and we go to my bets, is what we can see here, which is just a kind of interesting concept, is yesterday, I bet Rays minus 1.5, minus 120 odds, in Indians money line versus the Red Sox plus 150 odds. But I decided to cash out this wager on DraftKings for full value. So I wagered $1,050 initially because the line looked good, but I ended up cashing it out because they were giving me a full value cash out. So why did I do that? Is if you go to Pinnacle now, we can see that the Indians are plus 155 odds. Initially they were like plus 130 or something on Pinnacle. They ended up ripping up to plus 155. I had bet plus 150, so the line is ripping away from the Indians. So I'm like, well, that kind of sucks. I have Indians plus 150 right now. So what I did is I just went in and I cashed out my Indians bet and they gave me my full value, which is pretty cool. And what you can see is this Rays minus 1.5, minus 120 odds I kept open. Here we can see on Pinnacle, Rays minus 1.5 is minus 150. Orioles plus 1.5 is plus 136. So Rays minus 1.5, minus 120 is a direct arb to Pinnacle, right? The EV is pretty incredible. If we go to this no vig odds calculator on OddsJam, so we put in minus 150, plus 136, we can see that the fair odds should be 141.60, right? The midpoint of Pinnacle's market. If they charge no vig, no house edge, no spread, what would the odds be? So we can actually back out our EV for this. So we have, how much money did we bet on that? So we bet $950 on it, and we have a 58.61% chance of winning. So 58.61 times 950 times 100 over 120 minus 0.4139 times 950. And I'll kind of explain what this means. And this is equal to 70.79. 70.79. So I'll put this in here really quick. So we bet raise minus 120, right? We bet raise minus 120. Okay, the current Pinnacle market is minus 150. Pinnacle has raised minus 150. Orioles plus 1.5 plus 136. So the no vig win probability here of my bet using Pinnacle, the sharpest bookmaker in the world, their market, the win probability of my bet is 58.61. So my bet should win 58.61% of the time according to Pinnacle. So I bet $950. That's a little confusing. Let's just do this. So I bet $950, and according to Pinnacle, the sharpest sportsbook in the world, 58.61% of the time, I'm going to win, a profit of $950 times 100 divided by 120, minus 120 odds, right? Like minus 120 odds, I'm going to win $950 times 100 divided by 120. And the other 41.39% of the time, I'm going to lose $950. So that means my bet currently has an expected value of 70.79, right? So that's insane value. Pinnacle is a sharp sports betting market. It is an efficient market. So this bet we got yesterday is absolutely crushing it, and it's currently sitting at $71 in EV, or closing line value, expected value. Everything is about going through your bets and making sure they all have positive expected value. If you're beating the closing lines, if you're generating positive closing line value, you're going to make a lot of money in the long run. So again, that's just kind of an example of why it's good to track your bets, is you can kind of go through and be like, oh, my closing line value is now kind of bad. So if I go to bets, we can just kind of see here, if I load this up, is we can see it will show me, I bet the Phillies, Diamondbacks over 8 runs. The current Pinnacle no vig odds are minus 144, and we bet it minus 133. So the odds we got were a lot better than what the odds should be according to Pinnacle and Pinnacle's no vig odds. So that's pretty cool. And you can see that for a lot of your bets. So you can ultimately decide to go through and cash out a bet if the lines end up moving away from you. But most of the time, we end up keeping these bets. So here we can see Royals minus 1. We bet it plus 225 odds. And, the current no vig odds from Pinnacle are plus 201. So there was clearly some value on Royals minus 1 plus 225. So that's pretty cool. So we could place another. Oh, here's one more we'll definitely place. So again, we could kind of go through the list and place some more risk-free arbitrage bets, but for now, I think I'll just ignore that. And what we can see is there are a bunch of arbs to Pinnacle on BetMGM. Fantastic. So first half total runs over 5 is plus 145 odds on MGM. Pinnacle's only giving you plus 123, so some incredible value on this plus 145. Marlins, Reds, first half runs. Again, who knows why these lines moved, right? Like maybe the weather changed, maybe a pitcher got scratched, maybe a good player, a good hitter ended up coming into the lineup. These lines are always bouncing around, right? So you just really have to get there quick to capitalize on the opportunities. So first 5 innings, over 5, plus 145 odds. 2.45 odds in decimal. So betting $100, potential payout $245. That's plus 145 odds, $100 stake, $145 profit. So we'll see how much they give me on this. So they give me 40.55. I'll go through and track everything a bit later, but for now, so this video doesn't get way too long, I will just kind of try to track things quickly. So we see that's 0.0631% EV, 0.0631% EV. So what I want to do is multiply this times this, and what we can see is our expected profit. Our expected profit is now 16.79. just messing around for a few minutes on all these bookmakers unlimited on. So that's pretty exciting. So we can also see that the over 4 runs, minus 115, it's an arb to Pinnacle. One of these books has to be wrong. You can't have arbitrage in financial markets. So over 4 runs, we can see this is minus 115 odds. So I'll try to place a bet on it. Let's see what they give me. They give me 67.58 on this one. So even though I am max limited on these sports books, I still find a way to to go in and try to make some money off them and profit. So 5.63% EV on this one, so 0.0563. Our expected profit is our mathematical EV times the amount. So we're sitting at 2060 in total profit, 250 we're sitting at in risk-free profit. And again, you could go through that ARB page and you could bet a ton of them if you're more into the risk-free money. I like to gamble because I'm good at it. So we're gambling right now. And here's another one, right? Like over 5.5 runs, plus 175 is a low hold to 888 Sport Canada, and it's a near arb to Pinnacle. So you can kind of just, go through this list, find good betting opportunities. First half total runs, over 4.5 plus 110. So over 4.5 plus 110. I'm betting all the first half, kind of overs in this specific game because they're all mathematically profitable. And I'm limited, so it's not like, I feel like I'm getting too much exposure by any means. So 53.45. The expected value of this bet is 4.05%, 0.0405. So my risk-free profit here is just this dragged down. So we're sitting at 22.76 in risk-free or in expected profit. One other note I will say is just like, it's a good idea to kind of like browse through these promotions tabs in all these sports books. Sometimes they have deposit bonuses, stuff like that you can make money off of. So just like hitting the promos button on these sites every once in a while is it's pretty useful. So I think that'll wrap up this video, but I hope you found it useful. There's a lot of opportunity out there. There are a lot of discrepancies in sports markets, and at OddsJam we really try to make it easy. So San Jose State, if you wanted some college football sweat, that's pretty attractive. I mean, there's just a lot of different things you can bet. Marlins Reds over 7 minus 175 might as well. So Marlins Reds, so if we go to over 7 runs minus 175, where is the total? Over 7 runs, we can see this is 175.5 or so odds, which is perfect. So I'm trying to place a bet on it. Let's see how much it gives me. It gives me 122.38. So I get 122.38, and we can go to the EV page to figure out our EV for Marlins Reds over 7 minus 175. So getting, longer the over in this game. So minus 175, direct arb to Pinnacle. One of these has to be wrong. 2.18% EV, so 0.0218. Our expected profit continues to increase. We're now sitting at 25.43, so that feels pretty good, right? And we can keep going. Maybe do one final one if we can find a cool one. So over 8 runs, we already bet this. Just getting down as many mathematically profitable bets as you can. I mean, it's always a good thing. So over 8.5 runs in the Marlins game, it's favored on Pinnacle, right? And you're getting plus 105 on MGM. So over 8.5 plus 105. So just going to keep betting this over, I guess. So I'll place a bet on that. And what can we see here? It gives me 111.19. So I'll add that. But before we do that, just look at this, right? Minus 110, minus 110, minus 118, minus 109, minus 112, minus 110, right? Bookmaker has this favored as well, minus 108, minus 107, and we're getting plus money, and Pinnacle has it favored more. So clearly the line is moving towards the over, and MGM is just kind of missing the boat here. So I can pull up, oh wow, that's a huge one on Fanduel. So that's 3.91% EV but I kind of want to try to place this bet on Fanduel first. Over 8.5 Phillies game, minus 102. It just moved. Okay, well, let's see if it's under. So we can, no, maybe I wasn't. Over 8.5, minus 102. I'm going to have to move quick on this one because that is insane expected value. So we can move quickly. And again, track your bets, track your risk-free profit. So here we see over 8.5 on the sportsbook. That has limited me the most. That does not like me the most. And let's see how much they give me. 1,000. So they're going to give me 5, 10, 20. That's sick. So they're giving me 5, 10, 20. Got it down. And what you can do as well is what's interesting about FanDuel is they have this total runs. But then if you go to alternate total runs, you can bet it again. So 168.35. So I'm able to bet it twice. And that is insane EV we just got. So I feel pretty good about that one. So 510.2 and 168.35. 510.2, 168.35. And again, this was Phillies over 8.5 minus 102. The EV percentage was 8.47%, 0.0847, 0.0847. Our expected profit is going to be pretty high for these bets, right? $43. We just snagged a big one. And what you'll see is if we go back to this game, is the odds will probably end up correcting. Like if we go to this game, this Phillies game, you can see over 8.5 runs, minus 125 on 888 Sport. FanDuel's an ARB to 888 Sport. Minus 141 on Betway. Minus 137 on Caesars. FanDuel's an ARB to Caesars. Minus 135 on DraftKings. FanDuel's an ARB to DraftKings. Minus 133 on FoxBet. FanDuel's an ARB to FoxBet. Minus 128 on Pinnacle. FanDuel's an ARB to Pinnacle. Minus 130 on Unibet. FanDuel's an ARB to Unibet. Like, FanDuel's line is just wrong. End of story. So that's pretty interesting. I mean, that's just a fantastic betting opportunity. So you can also see some team totals. Oh, over 7.5. So again, kind of like we did in the past one. So it looks like they may have moved, and they did. Right, we just bet this minus 102. We just bet this minus 102, and the books now have it minus 132. That's how fast you have to be. If you want to get in on the great bets that net you, how much did I just make? Like $60 in expected profit in a minute. You have to move quick. Like you have to know how to navigate these sites quickly. I mean, this is some insane EV that we were able to get. Like we picked this up minus 102 odds when it should have been. Kind of closer to like minus 120. So again, you can track your bets. Really important. 510.2. 510.2. And, new opportunities will come. New opportunities will go. So just kind of track your bets. You can make some risk-free money through arbitrage. And then you can gamble and get positive expected value. So here we see over 4.5. Let's see if this is still active. First half. Total runs. It looks like it moved a bit. It's still kind of good. Minus 118, plus 103. Right? Like this would be plus EV if we decided to bet it. So it's a good bet. So I might as well bet it. It just moved. See, when these bets are good, like they'll move kind of quick. Especially the really good ones that give you $80 when you're max limited. Like I just made... essentially in my head, I just made $60 off FanDuel in expected profit. I could ARB out of it if I wanted to. They'll probably let me cash out for a higher value. I just made that in a minute, and my account is limited, so I can barely even bet that much money on it. So when the opportunities are really good, it's not like you have to be the fastest guy in the world to make money sports betting because you really don't. Like you can see how many opportunities there are. This has been around forever. You've had all day on it. Type of thing. Like a lot of these opportunities will last for a long time. So that is just something to consider though, is you do want to end up moving quickly. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out, and I hope you found this video helpful.